In every nation's story, some figures embody resilience, sacrifice, and courage to break barriers. Tonight, that voice belongs to a woman who redefined Uganda's political and social fabric. She's Africa's first female vice president, a surgeon who once risked her life saving wounded fighters in the bush, and a trailblazer who lit up the torch for women empowerment. She has seen Uganda's politics shift from the sweet caucuses of unity to an NRM scarred by corruption, violence, and bitter context. She hails from Busoga, a kingdom culturally stable right now under the leadership of the Chabazinga, and yet trapped in deep poverty. She has watched democracy, once promised in the bush, give way to torture, kidnaps, and arrests without trial. Her journey is a mirror reflecting Uganda's triumphs, its failures, and its urgent question of its future. This evening on the Hard Questions show, I sit down with Her Excellency, Dr. Speciosa Wandira Kazibwe, a community leader, senior citizen, and veteran politician. Welcome to the Hard Questions show. I'm Solomon Serwanja. Dr. Speciosa Wandira Kazibwe, thank you very much for accepting to be on the Hard Questions show.
Thank you very much, Solomon, for having me here. You know, the older you grow, the less you get in touch with the people. And I think that when I see a young journalist like you interested in what I have been and continue to be, I really say God is good.
I am so happy to see you look younger. You celebrated 70 years recently.
Yes, July 1st is when I was born, 1955. So I'm a very young 70 and still cruising because I have the longevity gene. My father is, I think, 100 and he's strong, he's healthy, he's not diabetic, he's not hypertensive. He's a lean man.
Wow.
Yes, he still does his work.
100 years?
Yes.
Wow. Wow. Dr. Speciosa Wandira Kazibwe, what have you been up to? You've been out of the limelight, and I'm happy. Thank you for inviting us in the comfort of your home. What have you been up to?
Well, I'm in the limelight of the villages. Because what is known as the limelight in this country is politics. Or when dog is beaten by man. So I'm working with the people within the country because health is really very close to my heart. And health, not medicine. Because I'm interested and I went to get further knowledge in how do you keep people healthy? How do you keep people happy? And I think the key thing is to keep them healthy in the generic definition given by the World Health Organization. Your health socially, so the social network. So now you are part of my network. Mm-hmm. You are the reason that keeps me looking young, because I know anytime you'll say, Mom, I'm coming for an interview. And people don't like to look at people who don't look good.
No.
So I have to keep, so the social, your health socially, very important. Your health physically, that's what we focus on. I have malaria, I have hypertension, I have this. So once you get to your physical health challenge, it means you have fallen out of the social network in one way or another. Mm-hmm. Because the social network also determines your economic health.
Absolutely. We'll talk, I know you're very passionate about health.
It determines your sexual health, your marriage, everything. It determines your mental health. So really, the moment you fall out of these other health networks or issues, you fall out of your social network, you will be mentally unhealthy, physically unhealthy, sexually unhealthy, all those. And really, if people could see this and look towards getting people healthy, focus on getting people healthy socially, socio-economically, because economics was really a social issue, but as things get broken up, economics becomes its own field and sociology its own field. But it is your socio-economic.
We will certainly touch on each of those, and I know you're very passionate about health, and I will dedicate part of that life, part of what you're doing right now as we get into the interview. 21st May 2003, you decide to resign and left office as Vice President of Uganda, Africa's first female Vice President, having served, under the NRM leadership of President Yoweri Museveni for a couple of years, and having been part of the people who fought in the bush. You were actively treating, the wounded soldiers, and you gave your contribution to the struggle. Today, people may not understand.
Those who managed to leave the bush, they would end up in my apartment in Mugorovi.
Yeah.
I would remove bullets and...
Yeah.
Yes.
To date, maybe I should start there, by the way. People perhaps may never understand. What was your contribution to the struggle? You said you treated, wounded soldiers. I would love to start there.
You see,
at the time of the war.
My take on contribution to the public good really starts from the point of preparation. Because if you are not well prepared, you will not know where to contribute and when to contribute. So I have always been political from school, and my peers always elected me from school to university. And this is where you understand what am I struggling with, and where your social networks put you into the realm of people who are politically aware and talk to issues of serving the public, you being a servant of the people. So if you are not prepared, if you become an engineer, you will be individualistic, you will have your degree, your master's, your PhD, but the social good will not come in. Because even as you design houses, you'll not care whether the mason has put enough cement. So it's the preparedness. So I was prepared spiritually because I was raised by nuns. And the issue of connecting with my God to give me direction was very important. It is a refuge. So even when I was in the university and I was leading the university fraternity at the time, because Amin had abolished the guild. I was the chairperson of all chairpersons in Makerere. And so the fact is I was the guild president then. So we also, because of who I was and how I was raised and prepared from school, I was able to actually organize the university students and my colleagues, other leaders from the other halls of residence for us to demonstrate against Amin when students were killed, specifically a young man called Serwanga. He was a sickler and he was shot outside the gate. So I had to hold meetings, which meetings led also to the abduction and killing of the warden of Africa Hall, because it was in her place where we were leading. So once you get engrossed in issues of injustice, it sort of grows on you. And how to contribute is now the question. So you can contribute politically. You can contribute to tackling the ills that bring people in a situation where they are helpless and they believe only one person can do it. So my contribution to the struggle has been for many years, and I struggle for the public, I struggle for the women, I struggle for wives, I struggle for children, I struggle for East Africa, I struggle for Africa.
Yeah, but let me just come exactly right where you said that, the abduction, the killings that happened, you led the guild and the councils.
Black Tuesday, if you've heard of it.
You started a movement of Black Tuesday.
Black Tuesday was a day when, after the killing of Sserwanga, we went to bury him in Kivuli. We led a demonstration in our maroon gowns. So the whole city was painted maroon. And I was there at the forefront. Quiet, not breaking, not shouting. We walked to Kivuli, we buried our colleague, and we went back to Makerere. And government didn't know what was coming next. So the following day, that Tuesday, I was in the medical school, and the army invaded the university, and they beat up students. And that is when many people started running out of the country. We had students from Kenya, Tanzania, Botswana, Zambia, Zimbabwe, wherever. And they all came and stayed in my place. I couldn't move because where would they go until we had made arrangements for them to leave the country?
And so you joined Museveni's fighters in pushing back against these violations.
There was a former chairperson of Lumumba Hall. He was called Kagata Namiti. He was in Tanzania with the Musevenis. So he called me and said, come and join us. And I said, you see, the struggle is fought in many different ways. You stay there, we'll stay here. And I stayed inside the country. So later on, when the Musevenis came, I worked with the late Dr. Makumbi, and we were the ones collecting medicines to take for people to take to the bush. So that was my contribution.
Wow.
In my apartments, I would get people who have been shot, and you don't ask, who shot you? Where were you shot? You just do what a doctor does. In my own apartment, Bugolovi Flats, Block 24, C7. My bedroom window was right across from the armory. So we organized the looting of the armory. Yes. How did we do that? We organized a party also called Basilio Kelo to be the guest of honor. So as we danced, people looted the armory. If you go to that block 24, flat C7, you'll see the gunshots heading for my bedroom. So we did make a contribution.
How did that work? The robbing of the armory at that time?
When people are dancing and drinking, many things can happen.
I know.
Of course, we worked with the and the sister to the late Kategaya. She was also living there, and with her husband. And then this uncle of mine is Zikingi. Yes. He's also retired this side of, so he's the one who was actually coordinating. The Kategaya's sister, Gwendolyn, the husband then was handling the music. While other people, there was also a small bar there. So others were very busy engaging the soldiers to a little drink, and they were dancing there next to the armory, but then the whole village was involved in the party.
Wow.
With Basilio Kelo as the guest of honor. He had a wife on that apartment.
Interesting.
That block.
That history has never been told. I've not heard it from
Who
anywhere.
would tell it?
So you then...
Now I'm telling you, because many people, people have written books and they've said so many things. So you keep quiet because everybody sees the elephant from where they are standing. Right.
Yeah. And
But
then,
some of us, where we were is where we saw it. Other people saw us, others didn't. So the struggle was really about many of us making a contribution from where you are. And that's why I said the moment you are prepared, wherever you are, you can contribute to a struggle.
perfect. So then you start working with President Yoweri Museveni. You take power. He's sworn in as head of state.
No, actually, for me, I was a Democratic Party
Yes, you used to be
person.
a member of the
Yes.
DP.
So Museveni did not, I never even met him. I first met him after he made me deputy minister physically. Otherwise, I was elected by the Bugolobi people from the village, LC1, and I became a city councillor. And I never met Museveni before I became an NRC member for Kampala district. So it was after I was appointed deputy minister when I met Museveni. I didn't even know him physically. I saw him in the campaigns. I remember us campaigning. Him were campaigning for Sam Kutesa and he was campaigning UPM. And we beat him. Yes.
And
So
yeah.
I think, anyway, 70 years is many years.
It's so many things to reflect and look back to. Then he appoints you deputy minister and you work under his leadership until when, you became...
I became deputy minister of industry and technology, then minister of women, youth and culture, then vice president and minister of gender, labor and social development, then vice president and minister of agriculture, animal industry and fisheries, on top of being the leader of government business.
Wow, that's quite a big CV right there.
Yes.
What was it like working under Museveni's leadership at the time you were serving him and the country at large?
I loved the way he mentored me. Because as a surgeon, I went in, I didn't know anything about administration or anything. So when I became a full cabinet minister, I told him straight, I said, you see, I know the responsibilities of a minister under the Constitution. And you have the wrong person. Now I was hiding under Honorable Drico, who was my Minister of Industry. I was his deputy. So he sent me to the US to do a postgraduate diploma in strategic management and institution building. When I was still a minister, then after that, when he made me vice president, I used that knowledge to support the restructuring of government because I chaired the restructuring of government by us ourselves, except two ministries which refused to be restructured. That is the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Education. And they have still been disturbing us as a country. Not much movement that makes Ugandans happy in those two ministries. Otherwise, if you look at others, progress from that time has been in leaps and bounds. Health,
Education.
because our education is for the Western system, not for us to be who we are.
Yeah.
And the health is structured to be a market of pharmaceuticals and medical products.
Wow.
That is what it is.
Yeah. Hopefully that restructuring will come back again. So you work to the level of being, vice president. And on 21st May 2003, you decide to resign. Why?
I didn't decide. I told you President Museveni mentored me because I laid myself bare and I said I'm ignorant. So I was his student. Now, before I joined NRM, I had been picked by the medical school to go and do reconstructive and plastic surgery and come back to Uganda to set up the first department of reconstructive and plastic surgery. Because of all the trauma that we had had, the war trauma, things to do with burns, bad surgeries that are done, and we wanted Uganda now, it would be the first country to have that kind of thing. So I had been given scholarships to go to 3 countries. This is Italy, Canada, and Cuba. I had chosen Cuba on the advice of somebody who had already been in those countries, said with the reconstructive surgery, you know, it is so personal and it's to do with the looks and things. The white people won't allow you to touch them. So Cuba is where I was going. So I had that. And so becoming a minister to me was secondary. In fact, I even told Sam Kutesa again, who was the person who propelled me into the movement. Because I wasn't going to stand to go to parliament, no. He came to my home and said, the NRM is here, this is what it is, we must be part of it. And you have the character and the compassion to do this kind of work. You are going to represent Kampala. I was resisted by DP. DP said, let her go and stand where she's born. So they wouldn't give me a constituency during those elections of 1980. Otherwise, I was there in the women leadership. I was really mobilizer. I've always been a mobilizer. And I was also chairing the youth wing of the Democratic Party.
So you resigned to go back and pursue your career in plastic and reconstructive surgery.
The president refused. For 2 years, we discussed whether he would let me go. And this is where many people thought the president had sacked me. I was not going to stand in 2001 because I was ready to go. Unfortunately, I fell sick, and the president said, there's a lining, a silver lining on every cloud. While we wait for you to get better, let's discuss what you are going to do. You are not going to do surgery. Let other people do. Your experience, your nature as an individual, you will go and study something which will help us to look at policy in the country. So for 2 years, he was waiting to see where to take me. I got scholarships again from Columbia University, from Yale.
Wow.
And he said, no, there's scholarship. No. I want you to go to Harvard. And we'll pay for you, because if those people pay for you, you will not come back. So he paid for me to go to Harvard. We picked the course together, my research together, and within those 2 years, I was doing sociology, I was doing economics, I was doing whatever, did my GRE, passed it, and then went to Harvard University. So the president was guiding me. So what I was going to do was to do with the policy and people's health. At the time, HIV was so much in the 80s, so early 90s. So he said, this is not a medical problem. So you are going to now go and do research to tell us why this thing is real. In the other countries, it is the Vasiaga. But here it is heterosexual. What is it? So that was going to be my thesis, to see how HIV is going to impact our economy. It's going to impact our systems. When I go to Harvard, there was nobody who was an expert on sexology. They do public health. We don't do anything to do with sex. That kind of research is recent now. So again, I sat with him and picked the subjects every semester I was picking the subjects with the president. So I did economics, focusing on microeconomics to see how can we tweak the health system to fit into our we are socialists. NRM is a socialist entity. Because the medical insurance we talk about has nothing to do with wellness for the people. Nothing. Given our economy, study labor economics, do demography, because you need to know the population structure. So I did demography, I did the economics, I did the social, anthropology. So I picked all these subjects. I did political economy. My advisor is a political economist. I did a full semester course on the politics of pharmaceuticals and medical technology.
Wow.
Yes.
And all this, the president was, you were working.
I did the history of medicine in the world, and I focused on malaria. So I'm a very angry woman when I see what is going on here. I did decolonization of health. Even now, I'm part of an international group that is looking at the decolonization of health.
You know that there's that conversation around decolonization of everything.
Yes.
In the health sector, in the journalism sector,
this one now,
in all sectors.
That's why I said, find where you can best contribute. So for me, it is decolonizing.
It's interesting. It's interesting.
Yes.
It's interesting that you say the president was, your mentor. Many people thought that you were sacked.
No,
and that, the president just dismissed you.
I remember he was even interviewed that time, somebody from the Monitor, and this old woman, how can you spend so much money? He said, why didn't you take a younger person? And he told them that even if it was to pay 10 billion, I would pay it, and I would still pick Naigaga.
At that time, the conversation was, 7 years sacked Wandira. Of course, there was this scandal, the borehole scandal that came.
Yes, but even that scandal.
That scandal, what happened?
The way I handled it, the research we did.
What happened with the borehole scandal?
The borehole scandal, there was no boreholes. It was about provision of water for production. And the government had borrowed $27 million when there was the Ministry of Animal Industry, before it was merged with agriculture. And I get there. By the time I become Minister of Agriculture, that project was ending. It was supposed to have got the veterinarians start their own practices across the country. So we have satellite veterinarians fully, qualified, supporting the livestock sector, because the livestock sector is a private entity. So what government can do is to subsidize where you have epidemics. But the training of farmers and whatever. So that project was to do that. It was to also develop pastures. The project was also to make sure that there was water for production. And they had done one dam in Imbarara there, and the equipment was sitting there. That is when I entered the ministry, the project was ending. So we sat with the president and said, how do we maximize whatever we have? So I got the first, what is Kamia's title? What are the ombudsman.
The ombudsman. IGG.
The IGG. I wrote the letter to the IGG to investigate that project. I'm the one who did it.
Because you came in at the tail end of it.
It was ending. It had ended. Then we asked for 6 months when I got there. We discussed with the president. He knew everything that was going on. Money had been eaten So I stepped on the toes of people who had eaten that money.
You went aggressively for them.
Well, the report was there. And many were in parliament now, in the agriculture committee.
Yeah, because...
Yes.
Yeah,
we agreed. Before I got there, Honorable Nasasira was the minister who was looking after that ministry. Sechitoleko was the substantive minister
of agriculture.
But she
yes.
had gone
Victoria.
to France. She was on her way to joining the World
Food and Agriculture Organization.
FAO. So Nasasira was the minister. And now they had already, the bit of that project. They said, let us actually use some of this money to make the valley dams. The reason I know the project very well is because I chaired 90% of the cabinet meetings when I was vice president. So I knew what was going on. And I was also the one responsible for profiling corrupt people. So I had their files like this.
So when you did that investigation and found that the money had been swindled, what did you do about it?
Well, the Baganda say, nti whatever, when you chase somebody who is bigger than you or whatever, smarter, because they are smarter, they were there in this corruption before you, so they know as they plan to steal, to be corrupt, how to wriggle out of it. So for me, I was very open. I said, this is what is happening. Mwana wa Maria, njogera bitufu. So the first thing they said, I'm the one who actually gave contracts to a man called Basangira or something.
Yeah,
I'd never met him, Basangira. And that my husband then, that they had paid him. And the later worry, who was in parliament then, was even parading a check. And I said, show me the check. You don't need to see it. That they had paid my husband to give me the money. I said, but my husband, we were not even here when they picked who was to do what. So we get in the ministry, already the tenders had been given out. They had been given out. So we discussed with the president. And I say, you see, the World Bank has given us 6 months. If we go into retendering, we will lose even that 3.5 million, which had remained out of the
$27 million.
So the 24 million
had been swindled.
You cannot even say that it did this job. So I presided over 3.5 million for the water component. So I told the president, we are going to supervise and make sure these dams are actually put in place. That is when parliament came in. But while they were talking, we went ahead. And we did the work. Then when parliament went and said, where is the dam? They thought the dam would look like the one in Jinja. That's why I always say the functional illiteracy is really terrible, because people don't read.
Yeah. No, I know about the valley dams and the valley tanks. The Ministry of Water constructed one in a park called the Longoromid Dam, the Arachet Dam, the Doha Irrigation Scheme Dam.
Is there a river there?
They're different. They're not the usual things.
You build a wall of something. In fact, the president sent me to talk to people in Ankole, old people, who told me this is what we can do to make it cheap. Let's do it this way because some of them had water on their farms. So we said, let's go ahead. And they dammed. Then they went and stood on the dam and said, where is the dam here? Because the dam is the wall, so that when it rains, the water stops there. And then over 2-3 years, you actually have the water.
Your name was all over newspapers.
Yes.
That you stole
And I
money.
was laughing. I said
there were no boreholes, no dams, nothing.
But there was even no borehole in that project. There was also other money in the ministry where we said, let's give this money. This was now for TESO. It had been allocated to TESO. So we said every year, it was government money, let's get a sub-county to select a place where they will dig valley tanks. And these ones you can increase in size. So every year we give them more money to continue. Kamukagwe Muganda. Nobody even now knows what happened to that money when I left. Yes. It was really politics. People were afraid of me. Yes, I had become very powerful. And after Museveni, I was the most visible person in the country. So this is a fact.
But you also said wobogoba musajja munoleka mwagakuza, implying that you were also worried about your life because of the corruption that you had started to expose.
Oh yes. And before that, I had policemen as my guards. The president gave me, I had a small barracks here, wherever I was. So he gave me the army to guard me. My life was at risk. This is it. So it's not easy. I've experienced, I tell people that I have seen so much in my life, and I thank God for it. Because you can't read those things in any textbook of anything. You have to experience it. You meet somebody whom you know is actually after your life. But you sit with them, plan with them, laugh with them. That's what leadership is all about.
And you chaired cabinet with them.
Yes. Yes.
Must have been tough. So then you strongly became a very strong person in the National Resistance Movement Party. But years have since moved on. Do you think that the very motivation that pushed you, to join the struggle and also to serve is still, does President Museveni still have values that you fought for?
He does. He does. But the context has changed. Because if you have values as an individual, your values don't change. It's the people around you who smear you with their terrible values because you work with them. The president is not everywhere. So the values are the same. Look at the NRM documents. They haven't changed. The wording has changed. Look at the policies, fighting to make sure people get out of poverty. It's the names that have changed. Bonna Bagaggawale, PDM. PDM is about the totality of health. But apart from the money given out since it started, tell me which ministry, apart from the one giving out money, has health been there to say, what is my role under PDM? Has housing gone there to say, how do I plan for this parish under PDM? I'm in the villages there, so I know what I'm talking about. It is business as usual in the other ministries. But the money, Bonna Bagaggawale, Emyoga, the one for the women,
Operation Wealth
Creation is really the same thing.
Do you think it has delivered
Plan
any
for
impact?
modernizing agriculture, giving out this. So,
Dr. Kazibwe, has all this yielded to impact, you who is at the grassroots?
Change is there. Change is there, certainly. The problem is that the slow ones have been left behind. So my worry is that in economics, this Gini coefficient is increasing, the haves and the not haves. It's increasing, and not from true production by the people who are rich, It's through corruption mainly, fraud, theft. If people who are rich were doing it the right way, and this is the way of saying, let's have factories, then people work. You see people with a lot of money, but you don't know where the money is coming from. They don't own a factory. They don't have a farm which is making money. They are not intellectuals, that they are actually consultants in all these bodies. They are just there talking. So where are they getting the money from? Wealth should come out of you produce a good or a service, then you are a rich person. Where is the money coming from? And this is really what makes people jittery, which is different from our time. We moved together because people did not see that kind of wealth. People are wealthy. At that time, the policy was that when you are in government, you don't do trade. You don't import cement, you don't import. But now, even your spouse should not be. How can you separate yourself that it's my wife who is importing cement? I go to the border there and I get these young people who are in URA, who is importing things and not paying taxes. It's big people. Yes. So the values, Museveni's values, are still the same because the policies are good. The policies are good. The model that we have is copied by other people and they run. But of course, the contexts are again different because we speak a lot of English. Our people don't know English. And I tease the young people. I say, you see, we are using a language and your generation was not even taught by the white man. But we do control, copy, and paste. Control, copy, and paste. So everybody comes with this, the budget. They go to parliament. They ask the same question year in, year out. You go to brief them, this parliament. You go to brief management committees. So when I came back, I've been doing this.
Let's talk about, I heard you very deeply talking about, corruption, people getting money and you don't know where it's coming from. If President Museveni's values are the same values that you worked under him and fought and closely pushed these values, where do we consistently have these vices like corruption that has marred the governing system of our country?
We lag behind
what is
capacity.
The problem? What is the problem and why isn't the president solving it?
You see, the president can't solve it. And sometimes, because I've been next to him and sat with him, I really say, even in your home, a country is like a home. You cannot solve every problem. You cannot.
But there are big problems that you have to really take care of as a father or as a mother.
It's just at micro level. You do the policy and say, madam, please do this. You get an elder son. Make sure the goats are actually let out of the pen. Make sure this happens. Make sure this happens. Now, if you don't have the capacity to monitor and police these things, this is where we started off badly. Even fighting corruption. I'm the one who presided over the first draft of fighting corruption in the country. I used to chair the Presidential Economic Council all the time I was vice president, listening to every sector. This was in writing what the president had said. Chair cabinet, chair Presidential Economic Council. You will put in place a mechanism to fight corruption. So, do you know we didn't even have a handwriting expert? We didn't have people to criminal experts. The first one we sent, she was called the Kutesa. who was recommended by the police to go and be the first criminal expert. We sent them to Scotland. So you see people moving around that they are experts. They are not experts. We don't have experts. So the president told me I went with the police. Keihura, he was my detail in internal security, is the one I used to move with. We went to Singapore to see what are the systems. It's not a matter of saying so and so is a thief. I went to China. I went to Luxembourg. I went to New York. And they even put me, this is now the city, in the vehicles. They are loading bread, but inside there, it is a surveillance vehicle. In Singapore, I was told by the Prime Minister that, you see, corruption is different from fraud, and this is where Ugandans were going astray. People who are thieves, the public servants. When you are a public servant, that's not corruption. That is, you are a thief, fraud. You are a thief, falsifying these things which are bought by government, saying this is the quality when it isn't. That's not corruption. That's why you see, putting the politicians aside, who are fewer than if you were to go around and say, who owns land in this country? Who has built all these houses in this country? You are just an assistant commissioner in the Ministry of Health, and you have a block of apartments, but it's not loan money. Even loan money would look at your salary. You see, that is not corruption, that's fraud. Would be pure theft, fraud. So, in Singapore, the Prime Minister told me, and the Mahathir, the Prime Minister of Malaysia, because I used to travel a lot in all these. The president would send me, this is what we need to do, Naigaga. I think let's do this, Naigaga. So I would go, and they said, make sure you have a well set up revenue authority. The revenue authority was set up in my time. It was resisted by the commissioners, taxes in the Ministry of Finance. And we got them to start URA. URA, if you go and say, I have given a donation of 100 million, tell us what taxes have you paid on this income, which has generated a surplus of 100 million. Lands.
But with all these systems that you try to put in, the policies, I mean, many things have been established in terms of policies and institutions to push back against corruption.
The people there do not have the capacity.
But the buck has to stop.
Do you know what happened?
Because when you have all these systems, policies, and structures and personnel that work in these organizations, whose core is really to push back against corruption,
do you know what?
And things don't work, then there must be a problem.
Because for me, corruption is like, I've taken a chloroquine and I'm itching. It is the itch. I'm itching.
So what is the chloroquine?
The chloroquine is to support people who are able, who are qualified to do that, and pay them well. Not to go fishing like the president is saying, let me fish. This one was the son of somebody in the bush. Well, I'm here, Speciosa. None of my children is interested in what I do. So if you meet the president and says, this is Naigaga's son or daughter, let them, they did the business management. Their values as far as supporting government is different. They've been raised different in a different time. So, what did the Prime Minister of Singapore tell me? Get the best, put them to do the work and pay them well. You don't need 10 people. Like when, I have gone through this because to understand how the IGG's office works, it's research. So these young boys who move around looking, girls and boys, have they done research methods? Can they say this is a spurious association? Have they done economics to know that you can see two people entering the bus together, getting off together, going the same direction, and somebody claims this one is a boyfriend of the other? That is, have they the capacity? So the Prime Minister of Singapore at that time, he was managing the Port Authority. Excellent. So they saw the way he worked, the way his head worked, and the party says, you are not a politician, but you are going to be our Prime Minister, and we shall pay you exactly the same amount you've been getting. Just to focus on that. No, what is
side
it? Constituency. No constituency.
We call them side gigs.
So just to focus on that. So the things to be done are known. But now, for me, I didn't do political economy in school. That's the ambit of the president. Singapore is a small country, They may have Indians and the Chinese, but it's a small country. You can't compare Uganda to Rwanda, which is flying. They speak the same language. So the values are also embedded in your culture. So managing Uganda is not easy.
It must be hard.
The history of the different regions are different. So you also now need to identify people who really are very smart, but have the same values as you. Pay them well.
Yeah. No.
Paying people big salary, like now the doctors babongere emisala. What has changed?
Has service delivery changed? Is the question.
Nothing.
It's interesting. It's interesting what you've just said. So, what would be your advice to the president on that regard in terms of managing corruption moving forward?
Put the right people. For me, I like to start from the foundation. Other people say that you catch that person, shoot them like the Chinese do. Because the Chinese system, I also studied it. It's only the best that join government. And they are selected. They don't do interview. The best. You don't see adverts that we are looking for so and so. No, it's not the failures. Like what happened here. When we were restructuring government, the packages were so good. And the best could see Uganda will take long for them. Because even that time, in those days, the best would join government because there was not much private sector to talk about. So now you end up with the people who stayed in government. So for me, this business of public service, interviews, and people are paying, which is corruption now. You say, if you don't pay me so much because you are selected, you are on a board as a committee in the district, a committee wherever, that is corruption. But if each profession had a way of rating people, and then these people are taken through mchaka, that's where you pick people to do ABCD, because that's where you see their leadership. So we have to go back to the drawing board. Then here, we quickly now, in fact, this is what happened. When I came back from Harvard, the president had told me, go back to your job. I said, no, the public service is in shambles. Let me work and find out what's happening. And I know what's happening. That's the job I've been doing. From the top there to the local government. I sat in local government for a whole year. Yes.
Wow.
Now I've been in the district for 2 years. I know what is happening. Tell me of a politician who knows what's happening. So you think I'm lost?
Interesting.
I'm not available. People don't see me in the media and whatever.
Yeah.
Because when I'm doing my research, I'm a researcher.
You're deep in the villages.
Yes, I'm a social researcher.
We will get to that. When
So you are saying, what should the president do? That's why I say, let's get the evidence. Now the people to give the evidence are also corrupt in the State House itself. So now, if you want to stop State House from being corrupt, use IT. You want to meet people? It takes a shorter time for me to look at you in a Zoom meeting. Yeah? And now you don't even need these people who can't even write a report. AI is doing that for you, summarizing for you. Meet them on Zoom. In one day, you will have met to cut out that corruption scrap there. And then sincerely in this country, we know the people who are smart. We know the young people who are brilliant. The institutions are there. Are we working with them? Like when I was minister, vice president and minister of gender, labor and social development, every holiday, I would bring these people who have been elected by their peers as the class monitors, as the head boy, head girl, and they would come here every holiday. And I want to tell you, if I was to invite them here now, the Dundu Kadas, they are the ones who have a voice, the Otos. Oto is a Dundu Kada.
Interesting.
Yes.
Wow.
Whether you are what leaning and whatever, so they come here, he goes to parliament. Every talk of mentoring, I would collect the Samogeres, everybody. People come and talk to these young people, 400 plus every holiday. Now the professions have increased. Why don't you pick young men like Solomon here and attach them to others? So they were from across sectors. Then they would know, oh, my interest is in political journalism. Who are the people whom I can grow with? In 10 years' time, we can change this country using political journalism.
Yeah.
Who are the people in the health, in agriculture?
The best people in the game.
Yes, they came here and the village was their university. So we attached a group of 4 young people to that is why this village has changed. It was really, people would say, Champisi. So in this village, people were walking to work that we have no jobs. We don't have young people hanging around here.
Yeah. Well, I know because I stay around. Yeah, interesting. These are really great thoughts. But let me turn your attention to something you earlier on had talked about, Serwanga's shooting. And you led the movement against that kind of, torture, arbitrary arrests. These very things are still happening today. We have people have been, brutally, arrested. People have been taken to the basement. People have been beaten, tortured. We see it all over our news. How does that make you feel?
There's a difference. Serwanga and the likes were not in the town demonstrating or doing anything. No. Because they feared the state. That was the difference. Serwanga, they were coming from Katanga to have a decent from Sheraton of in the market there, to have he liked to eat rice and ekyenyanja nga bakisibyemu ekyayi. I knew him personally. They were walking back with his rowdy friends who had drunk kurudi waragi. They also used to roast pork there, their pits there. So these ones had drunk, and there he is, he couldn't run. So he was just shot. He was not shot because this Amin said shoot him, or because there is some commander who said shoot him. These were army men hanging around because they feared Makerere, and they shot him. There was no politics involved.
And today?
Now, it is the politics. The politics. For me, my advice to the young people, because I also went through that. I was very political at the time. But then I knew where to operate. You must stay alive for you to be able to make a difference. Yes. Nobody would just tell me that, Speciosa, let us go and now scream. Scream for what? Do I know what is in it for you, Solomon? That they put me on a truck and take me somewhere. So in looking at who is wrong and who is right, I say it was different then. There was no politics. So for us in demonstrating, and how did we do it? Otherwise we would have all been shot. Then I would be responsible as the leader. So I was very clear. We are going to do ABCD with the chairman and the cabinets of the different halls. So we briefed these young people. We had the list. We are going to go from here to here. When we reach here, this is what we'll do. Everybody must be in a maroon gown. You don't have a maroon gown, you don't come. If no shouting, even if you are provoked by anybody, we walk, we get there. Still, we don't talk. Who will talk? Speciosa. I talk. And when I do, we go back. We don't even wait to bury, because the burial time, a lot of confusion. We give our message of condolence and we walk back. Now, you get these young people on the streets. You get politicians with their agenda of getting noticed. I've been in politics for a long time, so I know how to attract attention politically. Yes. I remember when we went to Guru to campaign and leader for the DP. We told the older people, you stay back, we are the ones who are going to go. And they pelted us with rotten eggs. So in politics, you have to anticipate what is going to happen, what is likely to happen. So my really problem with the young people who are moving and doing all kinds of things, I don't blame them. It is really their leaders, those who are at the front line. Because this is the same question. Why can't he do something about the corruption? So I say, put in place the systems. Get the right people to be in the right place. Do ABCD and communicate. Communicate with the Ugandans. So right now, the opposition does not communicate. They shout. They shout wherever they go. Like now, where I'm working now, we meet them, they come in their uniforms. And for me, I tell them, please, What we are talking about is ABCD. Can you please tell us what you think? Because you are here as an individual. Or will it? But then for me, from what I saw when I was in DP, I'm not a multi-party person. No. Because I think that's one of the problems of multi-partyism in a situation where the people are chasing the same pot. Baagala kufuga, baagala kulya, baagala kukola ki, baagala babalabe, baagala. But there is really no different agenda. And I tested the agenda of a movement, all of us. If we were all to be there together, things would nobody would be in the prison. Because like Kiza Besigye is there.
Yeah.
But who put him in when he started with Winnie Byanyima in the CA? Nobody. He used to talk. We would go to the caucuses, everybody talks what they want to talk. But now it is A versus C. This versus...
But doesn't that speak to political intolerance, though? I mean, away from what you're saying about multipartism, political intolerance, the fact that you cannot listen to each other. Dr. Kiza Besigye, like you've mentioned, has been in prison for 9 months now. He has been denied, well, he hasn't yet, the court hearing hasn't happened. How does that make you feel?
That one I can't comment because it's before the courts. But I also want to separate, because a political party is a body corporate, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm there in DP. The political party has its own rules and guidelines, but I'm a member. When the party is taken to court, it's not Speciosa who is taken to court. And I think this is where we shouldn't conflate the individual and the party, because the party is a collective. Yes. So if I commit a crime, or if I have done, you are the Ovimanyi lawyers, I have committed a misdemeanor or whatever it's called, as a Speciosa. Because I'm associated with the NRM does not mean NRM is the one doing it.
Yeah.
So we should mature. And this is what comes through dialogue. So that young people who really care. For me, the new people, I'll give you the example of no. Because when I'm in the open, they come to me and say, Mama, we are abandoned. Nobody's mentoring us. Because we are not talking things which are Uganda. What's good for Uganda? Now, as an individual, how do you position yourself? And I started with this in the beginning. To be able to make your contribution the best you can. So you get people who are hooligans, side by people who can make a good contribution. Then you can't make a difference. You cannot say this is a good person and a bad one. But the problem is with us, who should be responsible for communicating, talking. Like really, on my village here, I call my youth and we have a cup of tea. How are you doing? But you are a member of parliament because you also don't know where you are going or what to do. You know, on this village, we've started our welfare thing. We know the eminent persons. We have a plan. Unfortunately, we elected people who really... But we know our role as the privileged people in that community. What is your role? Like what's happening now? Really, it doesn't matter who is in government so long as they are the right people. That's why, for me, I'm a movementist.
You don't believe
I'm not going to see the color, whatever. But now, if somebody is not on the yellow card, which is the biggest movement,
yeah. I wanted to quickly rush as we conclude, because I know your time is fast spent. I wanted us to talk a little bit about the Busoga question. Busoga as a region has been struggling. Latest statistics put it, and you're one of the elders from the region. But also the NRM has significantly lost Busoga. Very strong. It used to be a strong stronghold for NRM.
What shows that it has lost?
I
because in the last elections, how many MPs were NRM?
Yeah, but a district that only presented what, 4?
For what?
Members of parliament?
No, the majority of MPs in Busoga are NRM.
Yeah, but at least I know that there are a number of seats that have fallen to the opposition.
Where?
Paul Muiru has been in the House as an opposition now, National Unity Platform now.
He's there as Muiru because he was ignored by the leaders then. Otherwise, Muiru was the NRM.
But
tell me anybody.
But he was in parliament, and of course, then later on, in that contested fight, he lost that election.
Yes.
But the opposition is slowly but surely taking
not
root
this time.
In NRM.
No. Now, what shows you what the future of the parties are in leadership? We are talking about what is it that you have to see and do. Because how do you, the future of the NRM is the youth, like you saw what happened. It is not old people who are there now, Wagurueyo. It is now a new cohort which has been swept in. For me, because I think I was a youth leader and I was Minister for Youth in the programming of youth in the NRM, I look at the Youth Council elections. Not even the chairman only, but the Youth Council elections by village. Who is on the executive? Because there was no party issue. No. The primaries for the youth. What is the percent that is not NRM? In Busoga, you may find in the village, because that's where they start from. And those are the people with the energy to move. They are the people whom you can talk to and mentor to do what needs to be done. This whole village was DP. If it wasn't that I was working on issues of non-partisanship with the NRM, with the African Union, because the work I do with the politics in Africa is to monitor elections, including monitoring the ones here. So I was monitoring all the NRM elections.
And the chaos that ensued there.
That is normal. There is a contestation for something wonderful, isn't it? Don't men fight when there is a girl who is here? Don't the girls quarrel? That is normal. That's normal.
It is normal for people to fight.
Yes, that's normal.
You commend the fracas that happened in the NRM primaries as normal?
Very much so. I sit on TV and I see people fighting in parliaments, fighting everywhere. That is the type of people we are bringing now. So what do we do to educate them, Bafuke gentlemen and ladies? That is the question.
We're now going into an election, and usually we have a violent election. What do you see in the near future as we advance into elections?
Beef up security. Because even America, they were killing each other. What do you do? There's too much money. There's too much at stake. So you have to be there. But now, even within this short time, make sure we talk to the people. My village, they didn't elect when they were doing the parliament, the parliamentary NRM. My youth, they just said no. We saw people lining and then running again to the front. So they just told these people, go away, we are not having an election. They didn't fight anybody because I took the trouble to talk to them. Have you seen youth on this in this parish of ours fighting? No, because there are people who have grown up here and know what should do. We have a very big responsibility. It's not up there. When you look at the census now, the people 60 and above who have retired, if we care for the future of our children and grandchildren, let us all go back and instill values in people in our villages. Really, at 60, do you need bakuwe sente omuntu omugulire omuwe ekikopo kya chai ne muwogo? Really?
As we conclude, ma'am, my two last questions is, let's talk about transition of power in this country.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think this country is ready for a peaceful transition of power?
I think so.
Why?
Why not? Ugandans are generally peaceful people. Yes, Ugandans are peaceful. When Museveni came, didn't they welcome him in peace? Because now they welcomed him. For me, I'm not talking about getting rid of whoever is there or somebody you chase them. No. Because Uganda is here. Tomorrow it will be here. This is what you hear about people. Oh, we will never replace you the very same next day. That very day the position is taken. Even now, there are people marking time to take over. They may not know it. Some may not know it. But if you believe, those people are there.
Dr. Speciosa,
When we chased Museveni in 1980, he had only one constituency, his party. Now, so the transitioning to power, of power, it is already happening.
what do you mean?
It is already happening in NRM, in NUP, because these are the people who elect the top people.
Yeah. Mindful
Yes.
of our political history,
Yes.
do you think that your party, the National Resistance Movement Party, or the president of this country, Yoweri Museveni, is facilitating a possible peaceful transition of power?
If he organizes as chairman of NRM systems of elections or testing them to see where people can exercise their rights, what is the facilitation now? Because many people think that the president should wake up and say, I'm not going to stand. And then this is the heir. This is the person to take over. Then you'll say, oh, but we should elect. Just like what happened in SEC, this is my position. Why don't you elect me? Tell other people not to stand. Let the people decide. And I want to tell you, Solomon, and Ugandans and people who listen to this, people have not understood the system of governance in Uganda. The system of governance in Uganda is enshrined in the Constitution. We put in place 3 options: movement system, multi-party system, and any other system which you, Solomon, and your future can determine. You can determine that you want to go one party. Why not? That's your choice. It's your country. Now, the movement system, which we put aside, which some of us wanted to continue with for some time, is the one which had term limit. The law which governs us under the movement system still has the term limit. So we'll just take it out, take off the dust and say, now, we are electing you, Solomon, 2 terms. You go into multi-party system, where the new system now, and you compare it with America, where the president has 2 terms. Why don't you compare it with Britain, where the king has no term? He's the head of state. Compare it with the leader of parliament. They can be leader until the cows come home. That's party. It's the party. So until we actually say that the parties must have term limits, it's going to be very difficult. This is something which people don't want to talk about. And I have observed why even the parties all over the world do not want to put that term limit, because the party is like a business. I put in my money, I put in my this, I put in my this. Now, my son must take over. My daughter must take over. Even parliament should have term limits, just like the boards. So if we get to that level and we have a civil service or a public service where people are picked on merit the best, we are going to run. Because really, I don't see, if I have something to do, I get elected to sit in parliament and say nothing for 5 years and earn money for nothing. Then you get out and in the end, nobody even remembers who was the member of parliament for this constituency. People don't even know. You get out and there is nothing to show that even a single word you said, because words, mentoring is the biggest legacy you can really talk to, because these material things. Enyumba yange yali wano kati yekyaliwo. No. We munaakula mujjaga nti ewa maama awo we tutuula ate oba tukyuseemu kamukyusaamu, because this is your house.
Interesting.
So this is where we are. This is the president under a multi-party system. He will be flag bearer for life if he's in position to finance the party. Kyagulanyi, was there any election this time? He will be president for life. Obote was president until he died. Samuel Gerere, until he was too sick. In any case, he was never elected. He just stepped in on the death of Kiwanuka. That's my party, so I know the whole thing. So it is the whole thing is embedded in the Constitution. And this is where I say people you get a member of parliament who does not even know the root of the law that they are talking about, who doesn't know the objective principles in the Constitution.
Wow.
Yes. Because that is what should enable us understand why the politicians are acting like that, because the moment they know that the person who shakes the party is with them, they will do whatever they want. So the allegiance is not to the party, to the people, but to the party and the leader. Under NRM, my allegiance was to the people because I'm there as an individual. It's my name which I'm protecting. And we come together and agree on a common program. So now it is the program that I'm fighting for, not any particular individual. Yes.
What a way to conclude the conversation today. I had so many, but yeah, I'm really, really grateful that you gave us this time. The closing question for me is, what kind of Uganda do you want us to live in? We, your grandchildren, we, your children. When, what kind of Uganda would you wish for us?
I will start from the fact that, unfortunately, you, my children, I have not made you African enough. I would like you to live in a Uganda which makes you proud of being a Ugandan African. Short of that, I do not see my children and grandchildren stand tall in the global environment. I will disappear. Who am I? What's my language? I would like to see a Uganda where the languages are all spoken with pride. And you, the children, speak the languages to your children. Not only talk, because the language is the foundation of many things. It's how you communicate, the science and whatever. You, who are you? I want you a Uganda where the Ugandan people, the children, will raise my grandchildren to being proud of being Ugandan. And that goes to the proverbs, the language, the whatever. And from there, they will know that this proverb in Alur is the same as in Luganda, is the same as in Acholi, is the same as in Rusoga, in Runyankole. Then they know that actually the values are the same because values are embedded in our proverbs. That's the Uganda I want. Then with that, the social networks is what makes you successful. So Uganda will be successful.
Interesting. Dr. Speciosa Wandira Kazibwe, how would you want to be remembered?
I do not care how I'm remembered because there will be no more. Because I have found that there is nothing new that I'm talking about. So I carry the memory of many people. Many people. So I cannot claim that to be mine. It is the memory of people who have nurtured me, memory who have influenced my education, because I have brought nothing new. What is new about what I'm saying? The values, what is new? So I really do not care much as Speciosa that I be remembered for this and that. I just want to be able to say that, Solomon, if there's anything which I have passed on to you, which you believe is important for the progress of humanity, take it forward as Solomon. Then you meet other people and influence them. But as Speciosa, people, and people don't read. Do they read books anymore? No. You want them to put a black statue there of this beautiful black girl? When the place is bought, it will be put somewhere, then it is smelted if it is bronze. It's really this business of I want to be remembered. No, you are nobody in the midst of who you are and what you've become. You are just a conduit of many good or bad things.
Wow. No one has said this to me. I asked this question literally on the people I interview, and no one has told me what you just told me.
That's what it is. It's just ego and vanity. I did this. No, there's nothing new you've done. And I say this because I read a lot. I've read these Chinese books, and everything we are doing here has been done before. These model things, they've been done elsewhere. Except sometimes people forget to give attribution. That's all. Otherwise, there's nothing new. Even if you are a religious, you go to those religious books, whether it is the Swami, whatever, in India, I read them. If you come to my library, you will see them there. There is nothing new.
Thank you.
All these theories of progress and whatever, they are not new even when they ascribe them to an individual. They were just many people, even those individuals. This was not theirs, except they were sitting there when it was written. That's all.
Dr. Speciosa Wandira Kazibwe, thank you very much for speaking to us.
Even in journalism, there is nothing new.
All right, I've been speaking with Dr. Speciosa Wandira Kazibwe. Dr. Wandira Kazibwe is a former vice president of Uganda. She's now doing a lot of work in strengthening our health systems down at the grassroots. Thank you for watching. This is The Hard Questions.